to the latest episode of the Dorton and Duckett Debate podcast. I'm Lucas Dorton, and folks, I am joined by one of, if not the best first baseman that I have ever played with in my entire lifetime, folks. David Meehan, Chicago Bears rep today. David, man, how are you doing?
Oh man, that was an awesome introduction. I've been doing well. Been a long time since my baseball playing days, but I tried my best back then.
Folks, I got to let you know that when David and I think we only played with each other for a couple years, but those 2 years probably had the best defensive right side of the infield that anyone has ever seen. David scooping in at first, me playing second base. You couldn't. The balls weren't getting past us.
Yeah, no, I don't even know how I was stretching either for that. So I've never been flexible, but for some reason, when it came to that first base, I was able to stretch out pretty far. So
I think that's where I learned my flexibility from. Was probably from watching you all those games over there first.
something like that.
Heck yeah. But yeah, so as you can see with the Khalil Mack jersey, David's ready to talk some Chicago Bears. I'm ready to talk some Chicago Bears. So you ready to do this thing?
Yes, sir.
All right, heck yeah, man. So starting off last season, Bears 8-8, finished second in the NFC North. It's kind of been a theme the last couple years for the Bears. They've been very average and a very average team after balling out and making the playoffs a few years ago. So, in your opinion, David, what do you think was the biggest struggle that put the Bears at 500? Because they started off pretty well and then they went into kind of a big slump.
I think the biggest thing, and probably a lot of people could vouch for it, is Matt Nagy just could not wrap his head around Mitch Trubisky. And I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not going to say he's the best quarterback or he had the best potential, but man, that year that we blew the season off by the doors off the hinges,
yeah.
we went 12-4 and we were expected to go pretty deep in the playoffs, and I don't know how you come out of that and go 7-9 and then 8-8, and now your job's on the line and
Yeah.
Mitch Trubisky's on his way out. So I think the biggest thing is honestly Matt Nagy. I'm hoping he could get it right with Justin Fields, but him and Mitch just could not mesh well together, and he just did not let him control the offense. It seemed like.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, no, I feel that. We'll definitely get into Justin Fields, the quarterback controversy here pretty shortly here. But in your opinion, I think from what I've seen, I mean, I don't follow a lot of Bears Twitter, a lot of
Mhm.
Bears sources and stuff. So you might have a better insight on this than I will. So do you think that this is like a hot seat year for Matt Nagy? If his team doesn't perform, is he gone, or what do you think about that?
I think, and this is just a rough estimate, I think 90% of the fans thought last year was a hot seat season.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so I think he really bought himself at least this year. I don't think we'll see a firing during the season if
Okay.
it hits the wall.
Yeah.
But he's definitely on the hot seat. There is expectations. Andy Dalton's expected to lead us to a certain extent, and if Justin Fields comes in and we just are still not getting it done, there's no excuse why he's not on his way out the door.
So, what is your personal opinion on Matt Nagy? Do you like him? I mean, do you think that he's a coach that can? I mean, at the end of the day, your goal is to win the Super Bowl. Do you think he's a
Yeah,
coach that can take you there?
I think if he could get back to what we did in 17 with uh letting Mitch just go out, the way Mitch played was so free and so loose. Like you go back and watch the highlights to that season, and
Yeah,
that team was a fun team to watch. They were offense, defense, special teams. Everyone was just having fun, and it seemed like all of that was snatched away from them going into the following season, and
yeah,
even to the last year. It just seemed like a lot was. I think he went into his first year coaching and or at the head coach position, and he just he didn't have the pressure of doing something, and I think his the way he was portraying his offense that just threw a lot of people off. And I think he tried way too hard years 2 and 3 after that. I think if he could get back to his roots and allow the team to have fun, and the team is celebrating in club dub a lot this year,
That's right.
that'll definitely. I think he deserves the job. I think he could get it done. I could see the confetti falling with Matt Nagy, but
Okay.
I think it depends on what he decides with this offense because
Yeah.
that quarterback position, man. I know we haven't had a quarterback in a long time, but I'm really
Right.
hoping we have one now.
And I think that's what it's going to come down to because, you look at all the pieces around him. You got Allen Robinson, who's a dog. You got the bat, David Montgomery, who's a baller. I mean, you have legit players that, if given the right quarterback, that offense can explode. I think everyone's always talking about the Bears defense. Khalil Mack, all these players. I mean, deservedly so. Don't get me wrong. The Bears defense is usually pretty amazing. But I think if they have the right quarterback in there and they just kind of let him play that freestyle, it could be a scary year for him. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Their defense is always going to bring it. I mean, that's the culture of the Bears. You think Chicago, you think defense, but man, if we could just get an offensive team that could put up 24 a game, we could be a
Oh,
really scary team.
yeah, sure, for sure. So we'll just, I guess, go into the offseason. So Justin Fields was your first round pick. Uh, I'm just going to be the first one to tell you this, David. I was probably one of the biggest Justin Fields fans coming out of college that you're ever going to find. I loved him. I loved watching him play. The guy I think is an absolute baller. And if the Dolphins were to have traded Tua, I wanted them to get Justin Fields. I love Tua, but Justin Fields I think is going to be really good. So what going into the draft, I guess, what did you think the Bears were going to do versus what did you want the Bears to do? Maybe it was the same thing.
Being a Bears fan, it's really hard to have expectations for the first round. Definitely that Thursday night is definitely hard to like be a Bears fan for the last couple of years. I mean, considering this was a big draft for us, we just got our first round pick back from Khalil Mack from 3-4 years ago,
Yeah.
and so we were really excited. But they were rumor was is we are gonna go big on a quarterback. That was the whole off season. Since the season ended, it started with Russ talking about wanting to be traded. It's and then you see the Nagy and GM just they're traveling all over trying to find somebody, and
Right.
then but it kind of put a damper in it when they went out and grabbed Andy Dalton, and they posted on Twitter like 2 days before the draft QB1, and I remember
Oh.
um, we were very I was disappointed. Not that he can't get it done or I don't believe in him, but I mean the draft was like a week or two away, and I was like, come on, let's just make a splash. And man, that when that happened, when the Broncos passed up on Justin Fields at 10, I was like, there's no way we don't go and get it. And then you see the Bears trading up. You get the banner on the bottom of the on the bottom of ESPN. I don't know how fast I ran into the living room to turn it on to the TV. Like, and like you, I was a big Justin Fields fan. Being a
Yeah,
Michigan fan, it's hard to admit that. I
sure.
I love my blue and maize, but uh, man, I remember watching that kid play. I want to say it was against Michigan. I think it
Okay.
was his first or second year playing with Ohio State, and he got pretty he got hit pretty hard in the backfield, and I thought having two knee injuries, I thought he hurt his knee pretty bad one play.
Sure.
He went out, and I not even 2 plays later, he came in with a knee brace. He led the offense out there. Not even the first play out there, he scrambled out to the left towards the sideline, threw a dime into the back of the corner of the end zone. He celebrated with all his teammates, and I was like, I looked at my pops and I was like, this kid is gonna be a dog.
Yeah.
And now he's playing for the Bears, so I'm just even more excited. But man, that draft day when that happened, everyone was ready to put a helmet on and run through a wall for the Bears that day. I can promise you that.
You were ready to suit up again, go back to the college days and start pancaking some people again, huh?
Yeah, that I was ready to do something. I was so excited, but
Heck
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, that kind of just started the ball rolling. Usually, usually we're not too excited until training camp starts or until preseason games start rolling around. We get our hopes up, but I feel like there's a real buzz and a fire back just because of Justin Fields. It's pretty
Absolutely.
crazy.
As a Dolphins fan, man, I hear what you're saying. There's been so many years where I don't even get my hopes up anymore. If something good happens, I just in the back of my head I said there's something's bad's gonna happen to make up for the good that's happening.
Yep.
It usually does, but so I feel you with that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a great pick though. So now it obviously was announced that Andy Dalton is going to be the starter coming out week one. Personally, I mean, I can see both sides to it. I think, letting Justin Fields learn a little bit more and see actual NFL gameplay with, first stringers out there pretty much the entire time. I don't have a problem with that, but also I think Justin Fields also does give you your best chance to win too. So,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that? Are you fine with Andy Dalton starting off, or do you think Justin Fields should have been taking the snaps under center?
I definitely think it should have been more of a true competition. Like I said, they announced he was going to be QB1 prior to the draft, and the one thing that I do give Nagy credit is that he stuck true to that. He stuck true to Andy Dalton being QB1. Um, I just think that it should have been more of a true quarterback competition where Justin Fields is out there with live repetitions throwing to Allen Robinson or throwing a comeback route to Darnell Mooney or handing it off to David Montgomery. He's out there making plays in preseason with people that what they like to say are going to be real estate agents after preseason. And I mean, people are banging their fists on the desk for him now. I mean, imagine if we could actually get that continuity or that chemistry going with our first teamers.
Right.
I think I think a lot of people are nervous too, though, because that Rams team is a good defensive team.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you? My take on it is, what do you do? Are you gonna wrap them in bubble wrap the whole time? Like when you're only
Right.
gonna play
Good
him
point.
2 times a year against the Lions? Like you can't protect the kid forever. It's gonna
No.
happen. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna get his attempts, but I feel like I feel like it would have been a true test whether he went out there and didn't play well or produce. But he's not a dumb quarterback. He's pretty smart. And I feel like
Yeah.
win or lose, he would have took a lot from playing a top 5 tier defense in the league. Um,
Absolutely.
but I'm totally not mad. I will be upset though if Andy Dalton is like 10 for 22, 112 yards and a pick. Like if they're not chanting his name in LA for us, I'll be pretty upset.
No, I feel that. I mean, you mentioned the Rams defense. I mean, you got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey that you're facing up against the other side. I mean, that's just to name two of the people on the defense.
Yeah, just two of them.
That's going to be crazy. But I see what you're saying. So when do you think, you know the Bears better than I do. If you had to say, when do you think, because I think Justin Fields will be the starting quarterback at some point this season. So how far into the season do you think we'll see him start to be the starting one?
That's kind of tricky because
Yeah, the tough
you
one.
they I mean, I guess you'll see it. You'll notice that if Matt Nagy's really on the hot seat, it'll be sooner than later.
Sure.
But if if they're winning, any hot seat coach is not going to change what's happening. So say, for example, Andy Dalton somehow goes out there and we're 6-3 at the bye week, then you just got to keep rolling with Andy Dalton. I don't know what to say, but
Yeah.
um, if
Sure.
we're sub 500, I think if he doesn't beat the Rams or the Browns, because we got Rams and then Browns week 3. I don't think if we get one or the other, I think you got to start calling his name. We have Detroit week 4, I believe, and
Okay.
I think that would be a good way to introduce him to the league.
Yeah.
If you're trying to set him up for success, that would definitely be a better
Absolutely.
option. But I want to. I honestly want to say if Matt Nagy's job really is on the line, you will see him the second Andy Dalton is not giving us a chance to win. And whether
Yeah.
that means like I think they'll have to do a Dolphins approach too. I think if Andy Dalton goes in there and we're losing by 10 points late in the third and Andy Dalton is not the guy, you throw Justin Fields in there and what worst comes to worst, you lose the game. You're already losing. You could
Right.
still throw Andy Dalton in there week 2 and he'll start still. He's a good guy and he's not out here trying to keep Justin Fields from succeeding, but he definitely
Right.
wants to be that starting quarterback. So I
Absolutely.
think week 4, if Andy Dalton's struggling, but
Yeah.
if Andy Dalton's playing well, I think we're going to see him closer to the bye week.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. And that's a great point that you bring up too, as far as like the switching out the quarterbacks for Miami. I mean, it worked well last year. We went 10-6 and missed the playoffs. So
Yeah, and it definitely saved you guys. What, probably at least 3 wins. Him
yeah,
coming in, Fitzmagic coming in and saving the day. So, I mean,
absolutely.
as a coach, worst case scenario, you're already losing the game. You might as well
Yep.
try something. And if
Exactly.
Justin Fields goes in there and he at least makes it a competition towards the end of the game, then that's what you got to do. But I don't think we should hold him back and try to keep him from seeing potential.
For sure. And I think another thing too that we have to remember, with Andy Dalton especially, like it's not like he's some, bum who's been in the league for 10 years and has started 3 games. He
Yeah.
has made the playoffs. But I do agree with you. I think might as well throw Justin Fields into the fire. Maybe not against the Rams week 1 or the Browns, week 3. I would agree with you. I think Detroit week 4 would be an absolutely perfect time to throw him in there. I agree 100%.
Yeah, but if we're 2-1, we somehow split one of those games, and or even if
Right.
we're 3-0, I think we just got to keep riding with Andy Dalton. You might as well. I mean, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I want to see a playoff berth,
Yeah.
regardless who my quarterback is.
Don't fix what ain't broken, right?
Oh, exactly. I think the
Um,
defense is good enough for Andy Dalton to try to do it. If he can't do it with them,
sure.
then he's definitely going to be
Absolutely.
struggling.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like, I'm sure you're not asking Andy Dalton to put up 350 yards a game with 3 touchdowns. I mean, I think if he's putting up like, 215, 220 with one or, a couple touchdowns and he's keeping the games close, I mean, obviously,
Yeah,
if he can throw 350 and 4 touchdowns, you're not going to be against that, but
I would like it. I got Andy Dalton. Allen Robinson on about 2 out of the 3 fantasy teams
okay.
I got. So I would like to see 300 put up, but yeah, we're not asking him for much, to be honest. And I think that's why there's more of a 50-50 split in Chicago, because we do have the defense and we are expecting a lot out of David Montgomery this year, and
Yeah.
it's all up to Matt Nagy if he can make it happen or not. Honestly,
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, I love me some David Montgomery. In one of my fantasy leagues last year, that man almost single-handedly put the team on his back and won me the title. So I will forever be in David Montgomery's debt. That's for sure.
I definitely made the mistake in not taking him when I could have today in this my
Oh,
last draft that I had. I picked
oh,
uh I picked a wide receiver and he was going to be my second back option. And I thought I could make it to the next round and he went a couple picks before mine, so I was kind of disappointed.
dude. Yeah, I've been there. I have been there. That's for sure. Um, and then the other pick I wanted to mention, we've talked a lot about Justin Fields, but Tevin Jenkins as well too from Oklahoma State, the tackle that you drafted. Um, you're an offensive lineman, so you're gonna know more about him. Was this a pick that you were happy about?
He is a dog. He is a dog, but the I was a little concerned because I may be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he was a right tackle in college, and
Okay,
we drafted him to switch sides. But his mentality, and I remember he did an interview right after he was drafted, and he was telling them, I think it was a Chicago Bears interview too, and I think he was telling them that they're going to be disappointed that he wasn't drafted in the first round by the Bears, which
okay.
is I was kind of like, all right, chill out a little bit, but but that's just the person he is. He's ready to just compete, but I know we just placed him on IR, I believe, a week or
Oh,
two ago. He had like a back surgery, but it's not supposed to be too serious, not season ending, but he's definitely not going to see the field for a little bit. I know that for sure.
okay.
I was very excited for that pick though, because his personality, his mentality on the field, he's out there just to be the best he can be no matter what. I remember in that same interview, I believe he was like, "I don't care who you put in front of me, I am going to try my best to put your face in the dirt." And I was like, "That is crazy," because the league is full of dogs. I mean,
Oh
if
yeah.
he was playing this Sunday, he'd be going up against Aaron Donald. And I don't know how
Yeah.
that would go, but
Yeah.
I like his mentality. I like how he carries himself, and I was very excited when they did pick him because offensive line is definitely a weak point in this team.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, 9 times out of 10, your quarterback's only going to be able to play as well as the offensive line that's in front of him. So,
Yeah,
unless you're
and
like a
Andy Dalton
Kyler
can't
Murray
move
or a
that
Russell
much.
Wilson. No, no, he cannot. Yeah, the red rifle ain't that quick, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
he was a
so,
great pickup though, I believe.
so you said he played right tackle in college, and he's going to be playing left tackle in the league.
Yes, that's what I could be wrong about the right tackle,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty positive that's what I saw when I was watching highlights.
So for those people that are listening, and me as well too, how much of a difference is it from like right tackle to left tackle? Like what could be different in those parts of the game? Because a general fan's going to see, oh well, it's the same position, it's just the other side. But I'm sure there's probably a lot more into it that probably makes it more difficult.
Yeah, so a lot of the problem is when you're playing one side or the other, you really offensive line is a lot about technique. They
Sure.
Mark Schlereth tries to say it's the most skillful position because you're going up against a 300-pound man and you're trying to
Yeah.
impose your will. And if your skill or if your technique is not there, that man is going to impose his will on you.
Yeah.
So when it comes to when you're taking your kick steps and your pass pros and even when you're in your different sets, coming off your right foot rather than your left foot or vice versa is completely different. And it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to interchange them. But when you're sitting
Yeah.
there at practice for 2-3 hours a day and you're
Yeah.
just practicing coming off of one stance and then you try to flip it to the other, it takes a second to try to bring those feet along with you. And
Right.
when you're a great player though, you should be able to figure it out pretty quickly. I mean, it took Garrett Bowles quite a few years though, but we're hoping that's not the case for him. But I think he'll be able to transition pretty fairly well.
Yeah.
Um, it is very difficult though. In order, even if for guards going from your right hand in the dirt or your left hand, it's all technique. Your first step off the ball to what foot you're going back with first in your pass pros. It's a very technical position, and I haven't seen any reports that he was struggling with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, he went on to IR, so and he had that surgery a few weeks back. So I mean, we wouldn't be able to get those live preseason reps with him,
Right.
seeing him how to do that. But I think he can do it, and he wasn't scared to try. So I think that says a lot, also.
That says a ton. I mean, well, first off, that was a phenomenal analysis on that. It's probably the best analysis I'm ever going to get on offensive line play. I mean, that's huge for sure. So when you played in high school and college, what on the offensive line did you do? I can't remember.
So when I was recruited, I was supposed to go to play center.
Okay.
Um, they had some misfortunate events happen where they had lost their center that was their starter, and he was only going to be a junior, I believe, when I was going in. So they were just trying to get depth on the inside of their line.
For sure.
They ended up putting me outside at tackle.
Okay.
They put me at right tackle, and then I had hurt my knee. I tore my
Right.
MCL.
Right.
Um, and then after that school year ended, my offense line coach actually ended up leaving,
Oh.
and the new offense line coach came in and wanted me to move inside. But after my second knee injury, I wasn't really I wasn't mentally prepared to even play. To be honest,
Absolutely.
I was trying to put. It's hard. Knee injuries are the worst. But I was for what I was willing to do. I wanted to stay outside.
Okay.
Only being 6'1", it's pretty hard to be a tackle.
Sure.
Um, but that's what I was on the roster as a right tackle.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, no, I've never, thankfully, knock on wood, have never had any serious knee injuries in my lifetime, but everything that I've heard of like professional athletes and stuff when they're tearing ACLs, MCLs, whatever it is that it's like the recovery process is one thing, but like the mental part of it is probably the hardest thing out of all of it. I mean, the rehab is probably easier than the mental side of it of actually going out there and then dealing with that again. I could imagine.
Yeah, it is definitely tough. I mean, rehab is no joke either.
Oh
But
yeah, for
if I had to pick one or the other, I would definitely rather go through rehab
sure.
than the mental game. Uh, for example, I mean Derrick Rose, it took him longer than people thought for him to try
Yeah.
to be Derrick Rose again. I'm hoping we see Joe Burrow be able to come back into it. I know he came out in some press conferences and said he was kind of nervous being inside the pocket still.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's it is very. I mean, you only get two knees, and when you have I didn't have surgery on mine either, so I never got them reconstructed. So that probably took a bigger toll on my mental game than if
Sure.
I were to have had surgery. But it's definitely tough. So um,
Absolutely.
yeah, the mental side of it is really difficult. I hope Joe Burrow can come back and play.
Oh yeah.
He was going crazy last year, and they
Mhm.
just gave him some offensive weapons also, so they could
I
be a
know,
scary offense.
and I know a lot of times too, players will say like after they've had a serious injury like that, like sometimes like kind of like Alex Smith after he had his leg injury. I know he
Yeah.
was saying like, oh, I just need to get hit, like I just need to get hit one or two times to know it's fine. Then usually you're able to go back out there and deal with it. But I'm sure sometimes that's a heck of a lot easier said than done.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. My case, I think it took me a little bit longer because mine happened in like a 50% drill, and so I
Okay.
wasn't expecting anything below the knees to be occurring like on a regular play. And
Right.
so I think that's what I had to try to get over is
Sure.
knowing that at all times there could be something happening, and it
Right.
definitely took a toll on me. It definitely was in part of me not continuing after sophomore year. That
Sure.
mental game is no joke.
I agree. I would agree with that. Um, so well, we're gonna get off of knee injuries and we're gonna move into
Yeah,
something
yeah.
else. Get
Knee
back on
injuries
the
aren't that. They're not that fun.
get back on the Bears talk here. So as far as like off-season moves or because you did lose Kyle Fuller to the Broncos, how big of a loss is that going to be?
People think it's. Let me say. I think nationwide, it's a bigger loss than what I personally believe is going to be
Okay.
a bigger loss.
Okay.
It definitely made our cornerback depth smaller. I think he's someone that we could have signed for a 1 year deal.
Hmm.
Um, Now there's rumors of us trying to trade back to get Callahan or Fuller, one or the other.
Okay.
The Broncos announced they're listening for both. So that would
Okay.
be upsetting that we both let them walk just to trade for them. But
Yeah.
the depth is not there for sure. So that I think that's the biggest hit it takes. But man, I think I'm a little bit of a Kyle Fuller hater, to be honest,
Yeah.
because uh, I mean, you can't deny what he's done. He's
Right.
a explosive playmaker. He's a Pro Bowler. He's someone that could help your defense tremendously. It just takes that one play for him to make. But for some reason, I don't know if it's his style of play and how they wanted him to play in the defenses, but he seemed like he was always 12 yards off the ball. And when and when we would go up north and play Green Bay, all they do is little 5 yard slants, 2 yard slants, little in routes all day long. And I just felt like he gave up more yards than he was preventing in some games. Now, granted, he never let anything over the top of him or past him. So I guess I mean you take what you can get.
Sure.
But I just it struggled for me to not watch how far he was off the ball, and I could not get past it. So
Yeah.
for me personally, I'm okay with him not being on the team. But like I
Okay.
said, you can't deny he does have that ability to make that one big hit or that one interception and take it to the house. That
Sure.
we will miss that, and but I think it was a good move. He was going to be worth way too much money, and with COVID and everything, we were not going to be able to bring him back or everyone else that's on 1 year deals this year.
Well, that's the insight right there that I appreciate. Yeah, I certainly was under the impression that the dude was just this absolute baller for the Bears, and it was going to be a huge loss. But I definitely appreciate that kind of insight because that's what's going to make me look at him even more this season. How is he going to do at Denver? So
Yeah, and I could reiterate he's a good player, but
yeah, for sure.
I couldn't get over that one tendency. I just kept catching it. He wasn't gonna Jalen Ramsey lock someone up or Revis Island anybody. He was like he did what he did really well, and that's not let anyone over the top, and that's definitely someone you want on your team. But I
Right.
definitely thought it was time to move on.
So a couple other players I want to talk about on your defense. The first one being Akeem Hicks. I feel that is a guy that is one of the best defensive linemen in football who, and at least from what I've seen, he does not get talked about a lot.
No, he
So,
does not.
and I know your mom too is a huge fan of Akeem Hicks from everything I've seen on social media and everything. But what does Akeem Hicks bring to the table, and why doesn't he get the notoriety that he probably deserves?
I'm I don't know if I'm not watching enough, but for him to when he is in the game, he is always double teamed. There's not a moment that he is not getting two hands on him or four hands on him. You would think that would be Khalil Mack, or a lot of us would have thought the other side. It might have been Robert Quinn last year,
Yeah.
who I didn't think produced well last year. But back
Well,
to
he didn't
Akeem
for
Hicks.
Miami either when we had him. So
But Akeem Hicks, he just goes in there and it seems like he's a team first guy. He goes in there, he'll make a play with two offensive linemen draped on him. He's stopping the run game single handedly. But I don't I've never really looked at his statistics, and I guess
yeah,
that could be a reason why he's not talked about much.
sure.
But if you go back and you watch like when he's not in the game, we cannot stop the run at all. Like it is abysmal how bad it is. And he is definitely someone that should be talked more about. He just came out. I think he is on a 1 year deal last year of his contract.
Okay.
He came out and said he would like to finish as a Bear. So we'll see if we could wrap that up. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. Because he is definitely the centerpiece of our defense. When he's in there, Khalil's able to run the edges freely without being able to deal with two people. Um, Hopefully, we could get Robert Quinn moving a little bit more. Bilal, he's a player that should be making some big impacts this year, and I think it all revolves around what Akeem does in the middle of the field because it's hard to get one technique, a big 300-pound man to take two
Right.
offensive linemen out for you every time, and
Absolutely.
he definitely gets the job done.
I love him, and a player that kind of reminds me of him that was on the Dolphins at one point, isn't anymore, was Ndamukong Suh. And
Oh
I
yeah,
think when he was on Miami, everyone thought, oh, he was an awful player in Miami. Well, stats wise, he wasn't putting up the stats he's putting up when he was in Detroit, but it was the same thing. 9 times out of 10, he was getting double teamed, but he was clogging up the running lanes. He was doing a great job of like letting the Cameron Wakes of the world being able to come around the outside and make those plays because he was double teamed. So Cameron Wake on a one-on-one, he doesn't miss
yeah.
that opportunity too many times. So I agree with you 100% there. And then as far as the other player I wanted to bring up, it's the jersey that you're wearing tonight, Khalil Mack. Um, I gotta ask you, David, and I don't. It's frustrating to me. Khalil Mack, I am probably one of the biggest defenders of him out here in Minnesota you're ever going to find. I love Khalil Mack, but the man gets hated on so much. Everyone's always expecting him to put up these 25, 30 sack seasons. And they always point to the, oh, well, he's not putting up these huge numbers in the sack game. But what Khalil Mack brings so much more to the game than I think people realize. I think people look at edge rushers, defensive ends, and they look at, oh, is he getting 15 plus sacks a year? Oh, he isn't. Well, he must not be that good. But what more does Khalil Mack bring to the Bears that the casual fan probably doesn't notice?
he's almost gets the same description as Akeem Hicks, but on a very larger scale. This man, he's has to be over 250, 260 pounds, probably like 6'2", 6'3", and this man runs faster than most linebackers in the league.
Yeah.
And that's coming off the edge. I mean, a lot of the reasons he's not getting back there fast enough is one, we could probably blame Kyle Fuller being off 12 yards off the ball. And two, he's always getting chipped, whether it's the running back out the backfield or a tight end off the edge, giving him a little nudge as he's going. Those
Yeah.
little split seconds takes a long time. And I know for a big reason, I think last year, and it frustrates me because referees, when you're a dog like that, almost like LeBron James in the NBA, when you're just that physical and that big, they
Yeah.
kind of let a little bit some stuff slide a little bit here and there. Just like Cam
Right.
Newton, they used to let the Broncos used to hit on him a lot because he's this physical specimen. And I feel
Yeah.
like Khalil Mack is getting held a lot. And I know last year they did make an emphasis on less holding calls. So that definitely could have been a case because I promise there's at least once a drive he's getting his jersey pulled from different angles that you're not supposed to be pulling them from.
Right.
But he is just a force because you think about it, when he joined the team, that was the year we went 12-4, and
Yep.
I think he practiced with the Bears for 2 days, flew to Green Bay, didn't even get the start, went in there, he got a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. I mean, this man just terrorizes offenses.
Yeah.
And if you got a game plan for two people to be taking time out of their play, out of their 5-second play, to get hands on Khalil Mack, that's two people that aren't involved for those 2 seconds.
Right.
And it opens up so much more of what you could do in the defense. You could play off probably why Kyle Fuller played off a little bit more, or you could let schemes develop. You could let linebackers come off different ways. He does so much more to the defense that, I mean, if we didn't have Khalil Mack, I don't think we would have had that season where we went 12-4. We have these
Wow.
defenses that are top 10, top 12 all the time in the league for the last 3-4 years because he is just a force to be reckoned with and just a dog.
Absolutely. Another thing that I think that this is an actual stat. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but I know almost every year, if Khalil Mack isn't getting sacks, he is getting QB pressures up the wazoo. I mean, this
Yeah.
man gets right in the quarterback's face so many times, quarterback knockdowns, everything, and then that's huge. I mean, that is huge for a defense for sure.
Yeah. It's quarterback pressures are almost as important as getting sacks because if you're just quarterback pressures turn into incompletions, turn into other turnovers. There's just so much more that he contributes just being on the field. His presence in the pocket just creates different types of ways for the defense to play, and I'm so glad he's on our team.
Well, all I gotta say is I'm glad that the Dolphins aren't in the NFC, so I'm a huge fan of that. um, so now what I want to do with you is go through the Bears' schedule. We're gonna go week by week, and I want you to give me your prediction of who you think's gonna win, and if you want to add any analysis or anything of why you think that way, go ahead. If not, doesn't matter. So we're going to go week by week here. So starting off week 1 at the Rams, how did the Bears do for their opener?
It's gonna be crazy. The last 2 years, I think we've played the Rams. I want to say it was last year. Last year it was just a very defensive game. I mean, I think Nick Foles was our starter last year when we played them, and I think we lost like 17-10, and it was just defense, defense, defense. They added Matthew Stafford, so it's going to open up their offense a little bit more. I think he's a very underrated quarterback, and give him the right weapons, and he could be a force. I want to say if our defense could keep them under 20, I think we should be able to nudge it out. It's going to be a dog match, though. But if Matthew Stafford just goes out there and balls, I think we're going to end up losing that game. So I would probably lean As a homer, I want to say we're going to start the season off winning, but
Okay.
it's being in LA Sunday Night Football, start the season off. It's going to be really tough to get that W. I would probably, if I would put money on it, I'd probably say to bet the spread because the spread's going to be better than picking the money line.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's, you know what? It's a true fan. They're able to admit when their team might not win a game. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And then week 2 now, you are home against the Bengals.
I
How does
think
that one
that
go?
is going to be a win.
Okay.
I don't even know when Joe Burrow is supposed to be starting to play, and I don't even know who their backup quarterback is right now. Um, I know their offensive line is probably worse than the Bears' offensive line, and with our defensive line, if we're healthy and we're out there just wreaking havoc, I think that's a no-brainer. I would probably put money to say that we'd win by at least 2 scores.
Okay. I mean, I'd probably agree with you on that. Week 3, then you're going to Cleveland to play the Browns.
It's gonna be tough. Like we talked about, I think Andy Dalton needs to split one or the other.
Okay.
Um, Man, Cleveland just all around their roster is very, very solid.
Yeah.
Um, I would, and if we lose to the Rams, we have to beat the Browns. Um, but it is definitely going to be a dogfight in Cleveland. Um, I would say I'd rather put my money on beating the Rams than Cleveland. So we'll say loss with Cleveland.
Okay. Okay. So we're what, 2-1 to start the season then? That's not a bad
Yeah,
start.
we'll
Not a
we'll
bad
we'll
start.
say 2-1.
Okay. Okay. And then week 4, you're home against the Lions. I mean, I'm assuming
I
I can chalk up a dub next to that one.
Yeah, we let's put a W next to there, unless their crazy coach somehow has them just out there biting our ankles, like he said. But I would like to say that's going to be a win for the
Okay.
Bears.
3-1. That's a good start. Andy Dalton's playing well. He's still got a job. And then week 5, you are at the Raiders.
I'm going to say we will win against the Raiders. We've had a bad history these last couple of years playing them. For some reason, we don't show up, but I think the Raiders aren't going to have have it in them this year to get it done. They're still trying to chase that potential 2-3 spot in their division. I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to be um, a force to be reckoned with this year.
Yeah. Okay. So 4-1. I start there. Week 6, you're home against the Packers. That's always a good game. Who do you think takes it though?
I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers. That man is going to be on a mission to destroy the league here soon. I think he has nothing but a whole bag of chips on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Even coming off an MVP year, he's only getting better. I think he just turned 38.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's gonna hurt, but I want to say Green Bay will probably take that one.
Yeah. Okay. Week 7, you're at Tampa.
We uh we played Tampa pretty well these last few years. I mean Tom Brady had his little mess up last year with not knowing what
Right.
down it was.
Yeah.
That saved us. Um, if they are if they're continuing what they did at the end of last year and they're just rolling week in, week out, it's going to be a tough game. Being in Tampa is even going to be tougher. It's going to be loud. It'll probably be televised if the Bears are somehow 4-2 going into this game, and Tampa is right around the same. I would like to. Man, it's going to be tough, but I'm probably going to have to pick Tom Brady on that one.
Yeah. It's
He's
hard to
got that
go.
team. He has that team playing with a different will, and
It does.
it's crazy what he did by just joining that team.
Yeah. Dolphins fan. I hated watching Tom Brady play because he always usually lit us up, man. So I feel that one. But yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, your Tom Brady is my Aaron Rodgers. So
Oh God. So we understand each other
yeah,
pretty well then.
yeah, yes, we do.
Oh man. Okay, so week 8 then you're home against the 49ers.
I'm gonna say that's gonna be a win. The
Okay.
49ers had a lot of injuries last year.
Yeah.
Uh, they were still competitive, but once injuries loom. We're gonna be week 8 then. I think we should be able to take care of that. They also don't know what they're doing at quarterback. I don't
Yeah.
know if I would believe in Jimmy G. I also don't know if I would believe in Trey Lance. So,
Yeah.
I would go ahead and I would like to. I'd probably bet the Bears would probably take that one.
Yeah. I agree. I'm not completely sold on the 49ers. I just don't think that they're as good as a lot of people think they're going to be. And quarterback is a ginormous reason why I
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
for sure.
They have
Uh,
the weapons and their defense is pretty solid, but I mean,
yeah.
the amount of injuries they had last year is was
Yeah.
just ridiculous, and they're going into this season with those that Lehman that shoulder or that shadow on their
Yeah.
shoulder and not knowing what their quarterback is going to be like in week 8. I would like to say the Bears.
Now week 9, Monday Night Football at Pittsburgh. That is a game that I am looking forward to. How is that one going to go?
Oh man, I would like that is going to be a good game. There's a lot of buzz around Pittsburgh, um, considering they didn't go live up to the standards last year. They kind of let a lot of people down that probably put money on them, like myself in in that
Oh,
playoff game.
oh
Uh,
no.
but no, I don't. I mean, if Big Ben or Dwayne Haskins is their quarterback by then, neither one of them can move. I would like to say my defensive line would be able to get to them, create those havocs. They have a lot of weapons on offense though, in their receiver core. But I mean, if we could get to their quarterback, I don't think they're going to be TikTok dancing too much in the end zone that night. I'd like to say we'd go into a bye week off of a win.
Okay. No, TikTok dance, nice. Okay, so we got the bye 6-3 going into the bye. Can't go wrong with that. Now week 11 coming out. It's going to be another tough game. Home against the Ravens.
I think if we make it to this bye week and Justin Fields has to be having his name called at least a little bit now. I
Yeah.
would love to see him and Lamar Jackson just go toe to toe. That would that would be a something that the NFL should plan for.
Yeah.
um, but man, I don't think Baltimore doesn't. Baltimore has a really good team, but I don't know if they'd be able to get over us. It's a hard one. Their defense is just it's kind of tough being in this position in my seat because I don't know who my quarterback's going to be. Then
Yeah, true.
it could be Andy Dalton leading us 6-3, and Nagy says we're just going to keep rolling, or it could be Justin Fields is the reason we're 6-3. If Justin Fields is my quarterback, I think we beat Baltimore. Andy
Okay.
Dalton's my quarterback. I don't think we see the the end of the day that day.
Okay. So are you giving your squad a dub,
Out.
you think?
Let's
That's tough. That's tough.
let's say it, Dub, just because we are at home.
Okay. Okay. That plays a factor for sure.
Yeah, late November, playing at home, Windy
Soldier
City.
Field.
Justin Fields' potential first start of the year. We might as well just say that's the first dub for
Okay.
Justin Fields
I
as a
like it.
starter.
I like it. Now week 12, you're at Detroit. Is that Justin Fields dub number 2?
I think that's Thanksgiving Day also, and we
Okay.
have
Oh
not
yeah.
played Thanksgiving in a couple years.
Okay.
Um, think Justin Fields playing on Thanksgiving sounds about right. Anytime we play Detroit, I'm not picking Detroit, and so I'm gonna go ahead and say Chicago on that one.
You and the rest of the NFL, that's for sure. And then week 13, you're home against the Cardinals.
When
So
we
you're
get to
8.
these later weeks, it's hard to tell because and the Cardinals could be a force to be reckoned
Yeah.
with in the NFC West.
Yeah.
They're debatably the second best team in that conference.
Yeah.
Um, I they have so many weapons. If they're healthy, if the Cardinals are healthy, I'd probably say that is a loss.
Okay. Okay. Kyler Murray's gonna run all over, tossing dimes.
We don't have Kyle Fuller to make sure DeAndre stays in front of him. So
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and give that one to the Cardinals.
Okay. Okay. Then week 14, Sunday night football at Lambeau. Who's winning that one?
I'd like to see Justin Fields doing the Lambeau leap
Okay.
just one time. Um, I don't know. I have a good feeling. We usually play them a little tougher in Green Bay. I don't know why. We don't beat them often, but it seems like we do play them pretty well in Green Bay. Um, it's just that December time of the year. Aaron Rodgers might be MVP leader at that moment. Um, but let's give it to Justin Fields.
Okay.
I have faith that Justin Fields can lead us into Lambeau, and he'll tell Aaron Rodgers who the up and coming kid is.
Give him that discount double check celebration.
Oh, after the Lambeau leap, I think I would go to heaven that day. I'd be content with life.
You could go to bed that night and not wake up, and you'd be fine.
I'd be perfectly fine if I saw Justin Fields Lambeau leap and just discount double check on Lambeau Field. That'd be amazing.
Week 15, Monday night football against the Vikings in Soldier Field. Who's winning that one?
Monday night versus the Vikings. You got to pick Chicago.
Okay. Okay. Uh, and then week 16, you're at Seattle.
We'll have to give that one to Russ.
Yeah,
Later in the season, Akeem's probably going to be a little banged. They run the hell out of the ball.
they do.
We'll have to probably give that one to Seattle.
Okay. Okay. Week 17, home against the Giants.
I would hope that we would win that game.
I would too.
They're not predicted to be a pretty good team this year. Saquon off that ACL. We'll see what happens with him. I would like to give it to the Bears that day.
And the Giants have arguably one of, if not the worst, offensive line in all of football too. So that's
Yeah.
not going to do well for Danny Jones.
No, not at all.
And then week 18 on the road against the Vikings.
On the road versus the Vikings, it's with my predictions, we should be playoff contention.
Yep.
I'm probably sitting around 12-13 right now.
We're
'Cause I'm
11
a
and
Gen
5 right now.
11 and 5.
Yep.
I mean, Justin Fields is probably sitting, getting ready for that first playoff game of his career. Let's give it to the Vikings. We'll say
Okay.
11 and 6.
11 and 6. I think that's very doable. I think that'd be worthy of a playoff spot.
You would hope it would be 11 and 6. Sounds like a pretty decent
I
year.
would hope so.
I mean, the Green Bay Packers, man, just depends on what they decide to do. If Aaron Rodgers decides to win 13, 14, 17 games this year, it's all up to him.
Yeah, that's certainly possible for sure. But 11 and 6, I like that. I think that's, like I said, I think that's super doable. So we'll have to see if your prediction goes the way we all think it'll go, and maybe they'll just go 17 and 0 too.
Oh, I mean, if I wasn't realistic, I'd love to say that we're going into every week. If Justin Fields was a starter from day one, we wouldn't lose a game. But I'm not the head coach, so.
Bears haven't called you up to replace Matt Nagy after he gets canned.
My phone number is open. The second I see a Chicago area code, I know I got the job I've been waiting for. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Nice, man. Well, that's pretty good there. So as far as Bears stuff, that's about all that I can think of to talk about. Is there anything more with as far as Chicago Bears stuff that we didn't talk about that maybe you want to mention or talk about here?
There is just one thing. watch out for Alec Ogletree. I feel like
Okay.
he's going to be a big impact on us. I signed him pretty late into training camp. Danny Trevathan just got put on the IR.
Oh,
Said he's supposed to come back for week 4. Also, not a huge fan of Danny Trevathan, so I'm hoping Alec Ogletree could do it. Um, I know I really wanted them to stay with Nick Kwiatkowski. They had to make a tough decision before last season on who they were going to sign. They decided to stay with Danny. Like, I'm not the head coach, so we live and
right.
we live and we learn. But I
Right.
think that was a blessing in disguise for our linebacker core. He's definitely going to get 4 weeks to prove himself, and I just think that's someone we should be watching out for. I think he's going to be a key force on our defensive production. If he's not producing, then I don't think our defense is going to be producing as good as we should be.
Yeah, that's definitely. I love the players to watch to look out for, especially from the fans too, because they're probably players that a whole lot of people probably haven't heard about or probably don't know a whole lot about. So that's always huge for sure.
Yep, yep. And Darnell Mooney, I think he's going to have a breakout year. He if we don't figure it out with Allen Robinson, he will be our number one day. Um,
Yeah.
he's just he's a force to be reckoned with. He's a dog. He catches everything. I think he's someone to watch out for too.
Yeah.
Questionable on fantasy right now. I still drafted him, so we'll see what
Well, you
happens.
got to give them respect, right? Got to give them respect.
Yep, yep.
Nice. Well, we're at the end of the show now. So, David, if there's anything that you want to plug, any social media handles or whatever you want to throw out here, this is your time to do that now.
I don't have too much going on in my life, but my moms and pops they just opened up a food truck in Denver, Colorado. Pookie's Barbecue. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Uh, Man, I might be biased, like I'm a biased Bears fan, but my pops goes crazy on that smoker. So
Oh,
give them a follow. Go check it out. Maybe stop by. Usually cooking on Saturdays.
yeah,
Just show some love.
absolutely. And I am unfortunately not been able to try it yet. I follow it on Facebook. It looks like some of the best freaking brisket, barbecue, anything that your dad's cooking looks just amazing. There's
Yeah,
no right word that I can use to describe it, but it looks absolutely amazing.
it is, and I know it's everyone sees my dad's posting the meat, but my mom does the cooking on that mac and cheese, and man, when
Oh,
you get some of that mac and cheese with a rib
oh,
or two, and man, it just brings it all together. So
got that
don't
soul
forget to get
food.
the mac and cheese.
You got to get that soul food, man. That's what it comes down to. Heck yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
well, the next time I'm out in Colorado, I that's got to be one of the first places that I'm going because I haven't had a chance to have it yet, and it looks amazing. So
They
I will
they would
definitely.
love for you to stop by, so just give someone a call or a message, and we can set that up.
Heck yeah, nice. Well, folks, if you want to definitely follow that on Facebook, and if you do live in the Denver, Colorado area, or if you don't and you want to try some really good barbecue, go out there and try it because I'm sure it is definitely worth the time and trip put into it for sure. So do that. Um,
Definitely.
Go ahead and follow myself on Twitter. Nick, who's also on the podcast, was not here tonight. Follow him on Twitter and follow our page as well too, everyone. But anyways, David, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it big time, and this was a great time.
Thank you for having me, and bear down. Don't forget.
Bear down. There we go. Well, anyways, folks, as for David and myself, until next time, we are out.